Hello, everyone. So, welcome to our evening, morning, depends on which part of the world you are in, with Padmasree Warrior. And as usual, I'm not going to give a huge background about her. You'll know through the conversation. So, Padmasree, this is a conversation that Herky and Inc. Foundation are doing together uh, to interview 49 unstoppable women. Why 49? Because 49.6% of the world is women. So we thought we should invite 49 women to give us their insights, their stories, which is going to come out as a book later this year. So that's the background of that. And so we thought we'd have a nice conversation for about 30 minutes, some question and answers and all that stuff. So we'll give
Awesome.
back to you
Lakshmi, you
after
always
that.
come up with great ideas. So you're always full of ideas. So I'm here for it.
Yes, yes. So Padmasree, I thought today we will cover this whole journey from landing in cold New York with a $10 coat to becoming Forbes 100 most powerful women. There's a whole lot of years in between, and I thought in the next 30 minutes we'll cover all those years.
Yeah.
The major insights from each avatar that you had. And I think like you have a very unusual career of multiple careers in the same life and also multiple avatars within the same company. So there's a lot to talk about. So I want to go like way, way back. And as a kid, you were a very gifted artist, or a painter, and but you chose to go to chemical engineering in IIT Delhi. So tell me a little bit about your parents, your upbringing, and what made you choose one versus the other.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think it'll be, I'm hoping this will be an interesting conversation
Yes.
in some
Yeah.
respects. I've had, I think, an unusual and unexpected career path in
Yes.
I guess maybe many careers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew
Yeah.
up in Vijayawada in
Yeah.
Andhra. My family, I would say, was sort of, middle class, nothing unusual. I had an older brother and sister. I was the youngest of three children.
Mm.
I was always interested in science and very good at math. And my brother and sister were also interested in science. So I think
Mhm.
from a young age, I was very curious to learn how things worked. I would like break things apart. And I remember one time I ripped a plastic bucket. We used to have those
Uh,
plastic buckets, I still do in
yeah.
India, to collect
Yeah.
water. I
Yeah.
cut one up and I wanted to see what would happen if you burned it. It was
Oh
very
my
dangerous.
God.
But I went in the backyard and I was doing that. And luckily, my mom found me before I did anything. So I was always like experimenting with things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I loved art, but I think my interest in art was primarily kindled by an uncle of mine who's a great artist. So he would like just put a paintbrush in my hand and just let me paint. I still do. I still paint to this
Yeah,
day. It's
I know.
like
Yeah.
outlet for me. But I really was more interested in learning about science. Actually, I wanted to be a scientist more than an engineer.
Hmm.
And yeah, I got into IIT at the time. I really didn't know anything about IIT. My brother was the one that encouraged me to apply to IIT after I graduated from my high school. And I
Hmm.
got into IIT Delhi. And that was a brave decision for my parents to let me go. I was,
Yeah.
only 18 or 17 at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any Hindi. I grew up in the South.
Yeah.
But my mom and dad really encouraged me to go. And my
Uh-huh.
sister lived in Delhi at the time with her family.
Oh,
So
nice. Okay, so some
some
logic
connection
had.
was there. Yeah, some logics. I wasn't like I was going off to a foreign land, but I have to say
Yeah.
it was a tough adjustment for me.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
IIT coming
Uh-huh.
from when I was 17, from Vijayawada to Delhi, like a small town to big city.
And like in
Uh,
a class, very few women and
no
all.
way. There were five girls in my batch, in a
Right.
batch of
Yeah.
150. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, everything was so new and overwhelming almost. After a week, I called my dad
Mhm.
and said, I want to come home. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And I think I often speak about this. He gave me a piece of advice that still stays with me. He said, you've chosen your path. Now it's up to you to make the journey interesting. You can come home.
Yeah.
And I thought he was being so mean at the time, but in some ways,
Of
I'm so
course.
grateful.
Yes.
I'm so grateful for that advice and coaching.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's so funny. I'm also one of three, and I used to paint a lot also. And I wanted to go to Shantiniketan to study. And then my dad said, look, you can do anything you want, but it's important for a girl, especially for a girl, to have an economically independent life. So you should get a degree that'll give you a job, and then you can always do painting for hobby.
Yeah.
So so I also got into not IIT but chemical engineering, and chemistry was the one subject I hated. So I didn't even tell in my house I got in, and I just studied mathematics. But the point is, the reason I was saying that our parents play such a big role in our life of giving an advice that may seem uh, so mean at that time. Like I was like, you're curbing my creativity and all that stuff. And I'm like, thank God, like I have my comfortable life because of that advice at that time. And coming to an adjustment at every level, right? So there is an adjustment you have when you go to college. And then you came to go to Cornell, to US, and to and that too you chose the warmest part of US to say the least. I mean, Ithaca is everything except sun. It's like piles and piles of snow. So, what was that adjustment like for you to go from India to here adjustment? It, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Something happened.
I got muted somehow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Huh.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was saying in some ways the adjustment coming from US to Cornell was easier culturally, I think. More, I think for me it was more of a culture shock going from Vijayawada to
You
Delhi
wanted
because
to
I know
IIT,
the
then IIT to
language.
Cornell.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
IIT Cornell, because there were a lot of IIT friends who were coming to the US,
Uh-huh.
couple of them to Cornell, a couple of them to nearby universities. So I think one thing I learned in IIT, Lakshmi, I think to this day that really sticks with
Hmm.
me, and I encourage everyone to do this, is it's so important to belong to a community.
Yeah.
It's a people who share your interests. Like I think at IIT, there was a group of us that were really, really good friends, all girls
Uh-huh.
from my
Yeah.
batch, and we really stuck together. It was like the sisterhood. We
Yeah.
still are really good friends. We are planning to have a reunion this year, actually.
Uh-huh.
It's more than a friendship. It's almost like
Yes.
you grew up together because we were only 17, 16. So
Yeah.
when I came to Cornell, I kind of looked for that community. Who can I be
Yeah.
friends with? Who do
Hmm.
I know here that can help me adjust? And of course, there were people, other IITs even, not just IIT Delhi,
Right.
but people from other graduate
Yeah.
students from other countries, international students who were also there trying to adjust. So I made
Yeah.
friends with a PhD student from China. She became my best friend because she was like,
Uh-huh.
she didn't know any English and she was trying to go to
Yeah.
graduate school at Cornell.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were, I stayed in an international dorm at Cornell, and they were
Yeah.
five of us, and we sort of like had this meal plan. Each person had to cook one day a
Uh-huh.
week, but you cook for five people.
Uh-huh.
So that
Uh-huh.
way you only cooked once a week, but you
Once a
got to eat
week. Yeah.
food all week. But
Yeah.
it was interesting because the five of us, there were two Indians, myself and another guy from, he was a Bengali, and
Uh-huh.
another grad student from Malaysia, two girls from Puerto Rico, and a
Uh-huh.
Dutch guy. And so all
Oh,
of us,
wow.
each of us
Yeah.
would cook. So I think to me, what Cornell taught me is more the exposure to international cultures and foods and
Hmm.
what these students came here for. Why do people come from so far away? Just like I
Hmm.
came from India to study. What's
Yeah.
all that about? And what do we have in common? That
Hmm.
helped me, I think, with the adjustment a great deal.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I had a great experience in Cornell. Yeah, the cold, of course, shocked me. I didn't have a
Hmm.
winter jacket. I mean, you read in books how cold things are, but until you experience, and I grew up in South India, which,
I know, I
rarely
know.
gets cold, right? So
I know, I know,
to
I
go
know.
from that to Cornell with so much snow and wind chill, and we had to walk I had no car. So I had
Yeah.
to walk everywhere in the winter time. And I bought my first coat at a garage sale for $10. And so that's what sort of helped me get through
Thank
my first.
goodness for garage sales, right? How would students survive without them? So it's
Yeah.
sort of, you would always, whoever is going out, you buy all their furniture for like $50 or something like that.
Yes. Yes. All the utensils, cooking utensils and teacups
Yes.
and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
like and I think it's amazing how things happen like just somehow it's not like you have a plan, but somehow things happen. Like you went to a job fair and then you kind of
Yes.
got a Motorola job. I mean, I'm sure, I mean, we are the contemporaries. I remember at that time. I mean, I landed up not too far from you in Syracuse, and but I lasted only 6 months. I think I ran away from there to Portland and I just couldn't take it. And but I think getting a job in those days wasn't as difficult as now, but it wasn't easy either.
Yeah.
I mean, to get something like a Motorola, etc., wasn't that easy. So
Yeah, I
tell
was
me a
in,
bit of
yeah.
how did you always know I wanted to go to a big tech company, or because that changed your entire career, I mean, your entire
Yeah.
life.
I mean, it did in some ways, right? But
Yeah.
no, I didn't. I wasn't actually looking for a job. My
Okay.
goal when I went to Cornell was to do a PhD and come back and teach at IIT. I wanted to be a professor. Um,
Wow.
at
Wow.
IIT, I always like admired professors at IIT, and I like when I grow up, I want to be that. It's one of
Uh-huh.
those things.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Um, so I was actually working on my PhD with my professor and one of my friends, this friend who was visiting, who's another grad student from China, she was applying for a job because she was finishing up her PhD. And so I went along with her to keep her company. We were like going for lunch and we were walking together. And so just casually, I was standing there and I filled out an application for a job at Motorola, as it just so happened, without really like just to pass time because she was interviewing and I was
Yeah.
waiting for her to finish up. And, I think a week later, I got called for an interview
Yeah.
to come over to Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona for an interview. And,
And
I
you
would do
even
it.
forgot that you filled the application.
Yeah, I was like, wow, Phoenix, Arizona, where is that? I had to go look it up.
Yeah.
And then I realized it was close to the Grand Canyon and it's warm
Yeah.
weather. I was like, oh my God, they're going to pay me to like go there and interview. So I thought, yeah,
Yeah.
why not? Like they're going to cover my travel costs and it'll be a good experience. And so I said, yes, I'll come for the interview. And coincidentally, a week later, my boyfriend then, now my husband Mohan, got a call also
Uh-huh.
from Motorola to come and interview in the same group. I mean,
Wow.
sometimes stars align, right? And so it was like sheer coincidence because he was at Syracuse, he was not at Cornell. So I
Oh,
was
he was
telling him,
okay.
yeah, I told
Yeah.
him, hey, I'm going to Phoenix for this interview. And he said, what? I'm going to Phoenix for an interview. And he was going to graduate and do his MBA at Wharton, and I was going to continue with my PhD. So we thought, oh
Uh-huh.
my God, we're both going. We can have a small mini vacation.
At Grand
Uh,
Canyon. Yeah.
and so we came and we interviewed, and we both got job offers.
Uh-huh.
And the rest, as they say, is history. We decided, wow, we both got job offers, and it's like good pay, and we should like
Yeah.
get married now. And so we came back to India, got married,
Uh-huh.
and started working. And I
Yeah.
loved working and I loved what I did. And so I wrote to my professor. And actually, for a long time, he would every year around New Year, he'll send me a card saying, "When are you coming back to finish your PhD?" Because I kept saying, "I'll come back next year and defend my thesis." I never went back and just continued
Yeah.
to work. Yeah.
I think at this point they should just give an honorary doctorate to you. I think you've done more. So, one of the other things I also tell a lot of women is that one of the most important decisions we can make in our life is the partner you choose to have in your life. You know, that kind of makes or breaks your career in a lot of ways. So, tell me a little bit about how did you meet? How did you both meet? And
Yeah.
what made you decide? In what way did the marriage contribute, to both of you grew a lot. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, we met when we were 18 at IIT. Actually, Mohan and I were classmates at IIT.
so like
We
you were one of the few people like the five girls get grabbed in the first year.
Yeah, I think the probability is pretty high, right? Because the ratio is
Yeah,
so small. But we were really
yeah,
good friends in the beginning, and we were both in chemie. Then third year IT, we were both in chemie, and so we used to hang out together. Then we started dating, and
uh-huh,
um, then we decided to like tell our parents that we like each other. And of course,
yeah,
back then it was not at all like okay to go find a boyfriend.
yeah,
Give my parents a lot of credit too, and Mohan's
yeah,
parents too.
yeah.
They were shocked at first because imagine like if you're
I
now
know.
in prospect, imagine if your 18-year-old daughter called you and said, "Hey, I found somebody I want to marry."
Yeah,
As a parent,
yeah,
you would say, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be studying there."
yeah,
But I think my parents like met Mohan, and after we finished IIT, when we got jobs, we decided to get married.
uh,
I would say it's really important, as you said, in a relationship, whoever you're with as a life partner,
yeah,
whether it's your husband or your life partner, it's really important to have support and understanding and give each other the space to for that person to be who they want to be and who they can be. And I have to say, we sort of like did that to help each other. Like Mohan was very supportive of whatever I wanted to do. In my career, I moved many times for my job. He never once said, "Oh, no, you can't go. We have a small child," or anything like that. And likewise, when I
yeah,
moved to California, he was working in Madison, Wisconsin, and our son was young, and we had like this long distance marriage and raising up, parenting a child.
hmm,
You somehow have to make it work, and I think it's a lot of talking things through and figuring out, and a lot of schedule management to make sure we're not both traveling at the same time.
yeah.
Um, I think those sorts of like techniques you develop to make the administrative part of a relationship work, and then the emotional part follows. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is you went to Motorola, you were there for 20 plus years. You started there and then you became the first woman CTO. It's almost like you were a kid and then you were the boss. So in the company, you have to make sure people see you differently at each stage because it
Mhm.
could be that when you were that young person, people who were there see you a certain way, but then when you grow, you take more important positions, they have to see you very differently. So in that career, I mean, it's very rare for somebody to become a CTO in general. It's the odds are very it's difficult. And what were like a pivotal things for you that gave you that position? Was there like did you take assignments that were unusual, or did something you take become big, or you had a great mentor? I mean, what is it? One or two pivotal things that just catapulted you into that position?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's one thing. I think
Yeah,
it's many things,
it's a
and this was
series of things. Yeah.
yeah, series of things, right? It was like sort of like early 90s when I became CTO for Motorola.
Yeah.
And back then, this is years ago,
Yeah.
uh, there were hardly any women in
Yes.
technology, technical roles in tech
Yeah.
companies. Very, very few. And also a brown woman in
Correct.
a
Yeah.
large Midwestern global company.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's sort of like I think I first had to gain confidence in myself to be able to speak up, show up, be present, and deliver always, like delivering results, I think matters consistently, not just
Hmm.
like one project you shine and then it goes away. It's sort of like consistently delivering results.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I think what catapulted me to the role is I first became CTO for Motorola semiconductor business, not the
Hmm.
corporation. So that business,
Hmm.
and that was an important business for the whole company. And so
Yes.
it's sort of like, and it's a very technical part of the business, semiconductor industry,
Mm.
as you know,
Of
and you were
course.
there.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
this it's a very technical, right?
Yeah.
And I think the rest of the company really respected my technical abilities, I would say.
Hmm.
But I think it's up to you to push through. And I made sure that every opportunity I had to raise my hand for something, I went for it. Like I know I would ask for assignments, I would ask for projects outside of
Hmm.
the semiconductor team to do cross-sector projects, working with other people in other sectors. Those sorts of things I think gave me visibility into other parts of the business. So I think a lot of times we have to take the initiative to learn not just
Hmm.
your function or your business, but the adjacent functions and adjacent businesses.
Yeah.
So I think then I got to be seen more as a all-rounder, like someone who can really lead different functions.
Hmm.
And then I got asked to be CTO for the whole corporation, which was a big job back then. And I was
Correct.
very
Yeah.
young when I got that
Yeah.
role.
Right. Yeah. I
I'm
remember.
sure I made a lot of mistakes, looking back now as a leader and person then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember like because I'm also Telugu, like every Telugu person said, hey, a Telugu person has become the CTO. And every IITian said, an IITian has become a CTO. Every Indian said, an Indian, every woman said, a woman has become. So you cut so many, micro groups. And I think for all of us again who went to US around the same time, there is one a need to blend in, be it you want to. There's a time when you were Patty and not Padmasree, and there is a time you kind of say, "No, I'm Padmasree." There's a time we all wear. I mean, I still think in horror of gray striped suits and like bow ties and things like that. So there is this, grace to you become colorful, like tell me a little bit about the journey of from Patty to Padmasree, that when you become comfortable in your own skin, there is a need to fit in and then you will fit in, but being on your own. So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about that transition.
Yeah, so when I first got my job offer,
Yeah.
I wasn't married yet. Remember, I said like we got
Yeah.
married after we both got job
Correct.
offers. So when I joined the company, my name was my maiden name. So it was like
Mhm.
Padmasree Yelepeddi was my maiden name.
Yeah.
And obviously nobody could spell that or
Yeah.
pronounce it. So
Yeah.
on their own, they shortened it to Paddy, Yellow Paddy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even recognize. I went to work and my cubicle, back then there were cubicle,
Right.
had
Yeah.
its name. And I was like, oh, I
Where's
thought it
my
was,
cubicle?
where's mine? And they were like, oh, this is you, aren't you Patty? I'm like, no, I'm not Patty. So I
Yeah.
spent like, the first several months when I would meet people, I would help them pronounce my name. I would
Yeah.
help them say Padma first and then add the Shri, like the tree. And I would help
Yeah.
people Western tongue get used to an Indian name and how to say it. And then, of
Yeah.
course, my last name became easier. My, Warrior is much
Oh,
easier. Um,
yeah.
so it's
It
sort of
suits
like
you better.
yeah, but you know what? I had to insist that people don't shorten my name to the
Correct.
point
Correct.
where even through Cisco, my career throughout Cisco, I
Yeah.
insisted that people don't call me Padma, they call me Padmasree.
Yeah.
Now I think enough people know how to say, everyone knows how to say Padmasree. So now
Yeah.
I can call me
Yeah.
Padma, it's fine.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, I would insist that people call me by my full name.
Yes. Yeah.
It has meaning, right? Like I would tell
Right.
people, look, my name has a meaning. Padma means lotus, and Padmasree is something
Yeah.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I don't want it to be
Yeah.
shortened.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was a big deal. And to your point, even like what we wore to work, we were
Yes.
told
Yeah.
to wear to work, right? Like I was
Right.
told,
Yeah.
wear
Yeah.
like, don't be like very
Don't
obvious.
stand out. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
Yeah. Yeah.
stand out. Like wear just black or gray or
Uh-huh.
blue.
Mm.
And that's not our culture, right? We grew up in a
Right.
culture
Yeah.
of color and jewelry
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
And so I tried
Yeah.
it. I think for the first year, maybe I was like compliant with wearing black and blue and gray and white. And after that,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, forget this. This is not going to work for me. It's not who I am. And if you're not who
Yeah.
you are, you can't perform.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think sometimes complying makes you even more clear why you're doing what you're doing. It's
right,
not like a rebellion or anything. It's like, oh, I've done that and that's not me. So
right,
this is who I am. It makes it even more clear who you
right.
are. So,
Yeah.
Padmasree, I want to talk a little bit about I'm going to skip Cisco a little bit because, that not that it's not an important time. I mean, even at Cisco, you rose to such heights. And at the height of it, you decided to go to an EV company, like to be the US CEO of a Chinese, Chinese Tesla, so to speak, right? I mean, that is a huge, huge shift from networking to electric vehicles, from like true blue American company to be the US CEO of a Chinese company. Again, cultural differences and all that stuff. What is it that attracted you to
Yeah,
such
it's
a,
crazy.
yeah,
I mean, people think I'm crazy, and people now ask me, would you do it again? And I think I would do it again.
yeah.
It's sort of like in some ways, probably my
Because I
fourth.
don't think you did it as a reaction it was a very clear choice for you.
Yeah, it was a very
So
clear
obviously,
choice.
yeah.
Yeah, like all of them, look, I went from semiconductors to systems at Motorola. I left Motorola to
Yeah.
come to Cisco.
Oh, yes.
My one of the advices I always give people is leave your job when you're doing great at it. A lot of
Yeah.
people wait till they're struggling and then try to leave because when you're really good at your job and you're very considered, you're regarded highly, that's when you get to bargain and leverage what you want, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
don't wait till you're asked to leave, or if your company is struggling, leave when you're at the top of your game. That's when you should
Yeah.
go and do
That's true.
something different, and which is what I've done. So I left Cisco. I was doing great there.
Yeah,
I had
exactly. You're at the top of your career at that
top
time.
of
Yeah.
my career, and it was like a breeze, and I love the people. I still love the company.
Yeah.
But I always had this itch to do something on my own, and I wanted to go build my own company, but I had never done a startup. I think, this is sort of like late in my career, right? I was
Correct.
already
Yeah.
CTO of Cisco. To leave
Yeah.
that and to do a startup, like but I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I had to leave Cisco in order to like jump into it. And
Yeah.
I was going to start my own when I when I met the founder of NEO, the electric
Yeah.
car company in China, and he was in the US looking for a partner to come start the US operation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like set up as a wholly owned subsidiary of the China parent company.
Yeah. Mm.
He didn't speak a word of English. I didn't speak any Mandarin. We spoke through an interpreter, and we met
Huh.
here in Palo Alto for breakfast. And I thought
Uh-huh.
I'll just speak to him for half an hour and go on my way. And we ended up
You meet at
talking.
Ilfonaya?
Yeah, we met in at the Four Seasons, I think.
Okay.
And
Huh.
we ended up talking for 4 hours. And
Wow. Through an interpreter.
I never built a car in my life. I was just like drove cars, but it
Yeah.
just sounded like such an engineering challenge building an electric car with automated
Yeah.
driving. And China is a big market, and his vision was to build a startup in both places, like together.
Yeah.
So I
Uh-huh.
got excited by it, and then I actually took advice from John Chambers, who was my
Yeah.
boss at the time. And I went to him, and John said, "Well, you sound all excited. What's stopping you? Go do it."
Uh-huh.
So then I said, "Yeah, why not? Like, just do it. We'll try it and see
Yeah.
what happens." And yeah, I
Uh-huh.
loved it. I was there for 3 years. We took the company public, launched the first
Yeah.
car,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
after that, I started Fable.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
then you tr really went to a startup. I mean, what you always wanted to do is really a startup, and you had a recent exit for that. It's been acquired. So tell me, like, you've been through, you know, uh, in the same company growing, go to another big company for a few years, and then go to a company, take it public, and then go to a startup and have an exit out of it. So you've had so many exits, mini exits all along. So how does it feel now? Fable was, I mean, I just want to talk a little bit. This is the one thing, we have a lot of things in common, but like storytelling, love of storytelling is definitely one of them. And you've built this amazing community of readers. And I think we all have this love for reading because of where we come from. And you've done so many innovative things like book clubs led by very, very famous people. And it's just so many things you did truly to marry technology to reading. You had like analytics and all kinds of stuff about reading. Tell me the Fable journey. What did it do for you? Was it finally like, I finally found my soul kind of like, what was it for you? And again, it's completely different. It's not like from
Completely
electric
different.
vehicle, you go to reading, like it's sort of,
Yeah. After Neo, I wanted to do something that was more consumer, like, which everyone can use, right? Like, but obviously I'm a techie at heart and I wanted it to have technology. But I was actually initially looking at health and wellness, and kind of stumbled upon mental wellness as something that was
yeah,
continuing to deteriorate around the world. All of us suffer from stress and anxiety.
uh,
Sometimes it leads to serious illness. It affects our physical health. So as I was digging into this, I was looking at what is the equivalent for mental health, like walking 10,000 steps was for physical health. The physical wellness movement 2 decades ago started with walk 10,000 steps a day. And
yes,
that created this movement where everybody would say, "Oh my God, I need to go walk today. I've been just sitting all day." And now all of us do something, right? Like we put something on our calendar. It's like for me,
yeah,
it's Bollywood fitness or
yes,
Pilates or yoga or go running or go walking. Some people do
yeah,
meetings while they're walking.
yes, yeah.
It's sort of like that whole movement started with walk 10,000 steps a day. So
Mhm.
I was looking for
Like
what
a
is
simple instruction,
Simple,
like,
simple, easy to measure. So I was looking
yeah,
for, is there something like that for mental health? And of course, there's meditation and there's therapy, but they're very hard. It's not easy to like just sit
yeah.
and meditate. So as I was researching, reading actually surfaces to the top.
Mm,
Um, there's a lot of science now. Neuroscientists have published papers that says if you read fiction for 30
mm,
minutes every day, your
mm.
lifespan, the probability of your lifespan extending by 2 years goes way up, meaning you live 2 years longer.
Wow.
Because when you're reading a story, your brain immerses you in that story. You sometimes laugh out loud, sometimes you cry. I'm just reading a book where my favorite character just died, and I'm like, oh God, how could the author do that? So
Uh,
you get so involved and immersed, right? So that's what allows your brain to de stress from whatever is happening.
uh,
So I was fascinated by that because growing up, I was a voracious reader. I used to read
mhm.
all the time. And I used to go to secondhand bookshops and public libraries in
Yes,
India and borrow books and read them under the blanket. And,
yes,
now I would say I'm an avid reader.
yeah,
But I knew anecdotally that it helped me de stress. If I was really stressed out at work, I would come home and just like read my book, even if it's
mm,
one chapter before I like got into other things.
uh-huh,
So I wanted to start a company that sort of did that, but felt
uh-huh.
more like you were on Instagram. Like, how do you
Yeah,
let people not be doom scrolling on social media, but have that same experience to do something good and talk about something useful. And that's really what Fable is. It's sort of like Instagram for book
yeah,
lovers. And,
right,
so
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it attracts a lot of younger audiences, a lot of young people who
yeah,
read and who grew up more, I would say, with
yeah.
social as a way they belong to communities. So yeah,
So
I
what
have a
is
book club. I have
it?
3,000 people reading with me in my club, so it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what, I mean, what made you decide to get it, be acquired? Was that something that came your way? I mean, again, this is
Yeah.
another space, and I mean, you really let it go. You're going to be in an advisor role. You're not going to be in an operational role. So what was it that made you
Yeah,
decide,
there was a
hey,
couple of
time?
offers that came my way. About three offers came my way. And a lot of soul searching to do. As a founder, it's your baby, right? And
Yes, yeah, yeah,
um, I built a great team and I was very attached to my team. I wanted to make sure they all ended up in a good place. So
yeah,
yeah, I think I picked a good home for it. We merged with a San Francisco-based company called Scribd and Everand.
yeah.
The whole team is there now. I'm on the board of that company. It's hard to
Mhm.
let go the day to
I
day.
know, I know,
I
I
think
know.
sometimes, but suddenly you wake up and you're like, wait, I don't have meetings starting at 7 a.m. and going till 9 p.m. Like,
That's why we finally got you. We've been trying for 6 months.
I know, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think it is a transition mentally. But as you know, I have so many hobbies that keep me
I know
occupied.
you dance, you paint, you cook, you jewelry design. I mean, God knows what else, like you
Yeah,
move, you should just move to LA and become an actress now. That's just the only thing
no,
left.
that's not happening. But yeah, I mean, I just like learning new things. I'm getting into photography now, and I'm on different
Okay.
boards. That keeps me occupied. So it's sort of like going back to picking up that paintbrush for real this time, right?
Yes. And so what's the book you're reading that's making you cry now?
Oh my God, I'm reading this book. It's actually a second book in a series. It's fantasy fiction. The author is called James Iselton. The book is called,
Okay.
have you read him? The first
No, no,
one
I
is
just,
Yeah, the first book is called The Will of the Many, and the
yes,
second book
yeah.
I'm reading right now is called The Strength of a Few.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
yeah,
We
The
were,
Will of
we have a Indian, I would call him a thought leader more than a filmmaker, Anand Gandhi. He wrote a book called Maya, which is, I think you know about
Yeah,
it.
I
So we were
met
like
him.
talking about this whole fantasy fiction,
I'm a
kind
huge
of.
fantasy fiction fan, and my son
Yeah,
is too.
you were there at the
I
thing
was
we
there
had,
at
at
your
your
event.
concert.
That
Yeah.
was a great
Yeah.
event. Yeah, so I'm reading
Yeah.
that. It's mind-blowing book, and I was like, oh my God, I'm ready to cry now.
And I just am going to take some questions. So during we'll unmute them during the Q&A. Sorry for okay, there's a question from Marissa saying for leaders aspiring to global roles, what capabilities matter far more than pedigree, titles, or perfect career paths?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I think these days it's I think the opportunities are really there. I think
Uh-huh.
making sure you understand the market dynamics is really important. I think one mistake people often make when they're looking for global roles is like wherever your native country is. Like, let's say you're working in the US and you want to take a role in Europe or India, don't assume that market is the same as this market. I
Correct.
think making sure you're doing your homework first before saying I want to work in Portugal or I want to work in an
Mhm.
emerging market. I think understanding the market dynamics, the local market needs, and also the market dynamics, and immersing yourself in it, preparing for it. So when the opportunity comes and you take it and you go there. That's, I think you should start there. But then there's another kind of a global role, which is like leading global teams. And which is sort
Yeah,
of what I did in my career was like I had teams everywhere.
right.
In that kind of a role, I would really encourage leaders to like go spend time with your teams. I think don't try to
Yeah.
do that job sitting in wherever your headquarters is.
Mm.
Physically being present, like I would get on a plane and go to all kinds. I had teams in like 25 different countries. I would be in a plane all the time going to meet them. It matters
Yeah.
a lot, that interaction. I mean, these days we have technology that is quite
Yeah.
powerful, but still that one-on-one and in-person interaction is important. So
Yeah.
making sure you're giving, paying attention to that, I think is also important.
hmm Another question is about as a working mother, were there seasons where you felt stretched thin, and how did you redefine balance for yourself?
Yeah, oh, that's a great question. Definitely during the holiday seasons, Thanksgiving, Christmas in the US, I think, which was always a time where families here got to spend time. And it was sort of like a stressful thing because I
And
wanted
you have a
my
year
family
end to deal with and all that stuff
year-end
at
to
the
do
same
your
time.
closing and the CES and Davos and all kinds of things are happening. And
Yeah,
I wanted to see my family who's here, extended family to come here. Things are happening
yeah,
at school. So I think I would like take a couple of days off,
yeah,
whether it's during Thanksgiving or between Christmas and New Year, and make sure I spend time at home doing things. I love to cook, so I would cook a
yeah,
lot and invite my family and friends over for a big Thanksgiving meal or Christmas dinner. Those are
yeah,
important. For me, I always speak about this. Balance is not a word I like because it always
yeah.
suggests you have to be in
Do
polar
both.
opposite.
Yeah,
Yeah, do both and do both equally,
at the
which
same
never.
time. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I actually feel I talk about integration, but it's not just family and work. It's not like just work and family. It's also yourself and your
your own
community.
time. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
need time to look up, like painting for me or
yeah,
exercising or doing Bollywood fitness or whatever it is. That's sort of
yeah,
like time I need to take for myself. I put those on my calendar. And actually in
yeah,
my previous startup Fable, we encouraged everyone to put those personal things on their calendars.
yeah,
And our calendars were visible to everybody. And it was
yeah,
okay. If somebody said I had to go for my daughter's dance performance, they would put it on their calendar and we would say, "Hey, how was the dance performance? How did it go?"
yeah.
Because it's
Right,
life,
right.
we have to integrate everything and there's only one
Yeah,
calendar. Fine to put
I know.
everything.
Right.
And
Yeah,
your community, right? Whatever you care about. Like for me, this is my community. You're my friend, and people on this
right.
call
Right.
are people I want to belong with.
Yeah,
So taking the time to do that, that's important
yeah,
too. So I would say
yeah.
those four things: your work, your family, your community, and yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's another question about how can women claim space at decision-making tables without waiting for permission? Maybe just
Yes.
just that, don't wait for
I mean,
permission.
definitely good question. Great question. I think how do you do it without coming across like you're butting in and wanting
Yeah.
attention, but you also don't want to be a wallflower?
hmm
I would say wait for the opportunity where you feel you have an expert point of view to deliver. It can be a business or technical or marketing, whatever it is, where you feel you have expertise and you're there because you have that expertise. That's why you're in the room. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the room. And the fact that you're in the room means you have the expertise. And so use that moment where to speak up and deliver that expertise confidently, right? Like where people take notice. And so I often tell women, actually, many companies, there are very few women. And so you get noticed because you're the only woman in the room, or maybe there's two other women. Take
Yeah.
advantage of that, actually. Don't see that as a disadvantage. Like people
Right.
remember
Yeah.
my last name. I take that as an advantage. Or like
Right.
warrior. Yeah, you were. I remember you. I'm like, yeah, good. Okay, here's something.
I'm a
Yes.
warrior. Yeah. One of the things I have to ask you, you're on the boards and you were on a Microsoft board till 2023 or so at a time when they made all the OpenAI investments and all that stuff. Very, very, I mean, if now when we look back, they were very, very pivotal moments in history of technology world. So, I mean, just between OpenAI and Google and Microsoft and all this stuff, we are entering another unprecedented time. I think in our careers we went from personal computers to laptops to media to online to internet to e-commerce, blah. But again, what we have seen in the last 40 years of our career, probably we're going to say in the next 4 years or 10 years. Tell me a little bit about, and I mean, was it for you AI, I mean, when you're in the technology field, you've been doing AI for like 15, 20 years, so it's not a new thing. But did you feel at that time that we were entering a very, very pivotal stage of technology, or did this all creep in kind of slowly,
I would
or
say it kind of
where are
happened.
we?
I
Yeah.
mean, it's not a new field, as you
Right,
mentioned.
yeah.
It's a very old field. People have been working on it for a long time. But I think the amount
Yeah,
of progress we've seen in the last even 5 years, I would say, has been remarkable. I'm actually even being deep in the technology myself, I'm
correct.
surprised at how fast it's moving. To
Right,
the point where people working in the field as well are surprised at how quickly it's moving.
right.
Um, I think at the same time, there's still a lot of unknowns, right? It's sort of like
Yeah.
right now we have this big capability at our fingertips. What do we use it for? I think the killer use case is still, I would say, maybe I'm a contrarian in this. I still feel like we haven't quite figured out what's a great use for this technology yet. I think there are a lot of experiments going on. People are trying a lot of things. We are afraid it's going to take away jobs. It is taking away jobs in some sense. Does it need to? Can it be applied better for tough problems we haven't solved? That'll all still emerge, I think, in the next 5 years. So it's an exciting time, but also a scary time in some
Yes.
respects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And also, I mean, really looking at it, it feels just like when internet came, we didn't know what was going to come. I mean,
Right.
all the things we take for granted today, nobody thought about it in 96 or 97. Similarly, we don't even know where this is going.
Right. Yeah.
And I'd love for you to say something about, like it's important for the data to be inclusive. Because one of the things we are really working on is how do you make AI more inclusive, be it the data or be it the access, etc. What are one or two things that you think we should all be thinking as we develop this? It's happening so fast that I think we haven't even had time to catch our breath. So what are the
Yeah.
things we should look out for or make sure we equip ourselves so we are not left behind?
Yeah, I think I think you said it. I think the data sets need to be much more inclusive. I think it's up to us to make sure we are deliberately looking for that. I think at the same time, it's also important that we are not violating data rights as we are training these models. I know that's a huge
Mm,
controversial topic. So ethically training the models, I think, should be something that companies should focus on.
yeah,
Um, and I think the third thing I would say is putting the guardrails. It still has a lot of issues. It still hallucinates a
correct.
lot.
Yeah.
So I think
Uh-huh.
we can't just say, okay, it's really out there. It can offer
Right.
you
Yeah.
medical advice. I think I would be very careful.
Right.
Those sorts
Yeah.
of things. So making sure there's enough guardrails, I think then it becomes, okay, whose responsibility is it? Is it the model builder's responsibility or is it the company applying the technology? These
Although
things
you
are,
consumer, is it your
or is it
responsibility?
your, yeah,
What questions do you
but
ask?
as
Yeah.
a consumer, you may not be as sophisticated
That's true.
to know what is happening
Yeah.
even. So I think those are setting the guardrails, I think is important.
Mhm.
Those are the kind of things that we have to really, really pay attention to.
So just a couple more questions. Rekha is asking, what would your prediction be for the next 5 years? What would we need to brace for?
Oh, you mean in technology
Yeah,
or?
in the world, in general, in the world, what should we brace ourselves for?
Oh, what should we brave ourselves? I think it'll be exciting. I'm always an optimist. You know me. I think
Yes,
I
yeah.
always look
Yeah.
at, people always ask in the aggregate, did technology help us or hurt us?
Yeah.
In some respects, it did hurt us. Even social media, we now know how much harm it's
Yeah.
doing. But it
Yeah.
also has helped us. It helped us connect and helped
Yeah.
us know each other better. So I think I am optimistic. I think AI has a lot of applications in the medical field,
Mm,
helping doctors access research much faster, drug
mm,
discovery. I think so many of
mm,
these things can be accelerated. It's one thing to say, yeah, sort my photographs out and file everything correctly for me, but I'm more
mm.
excited about the harder problems that we hope
Right.
to solve. right?
Mm-hmm.
And that I think we can look forward to in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the fear or negative side, yes, I think it'll be chaotic for the next few years. I think as we stumble, we'll make mistakes.
Yeah.
Companies will make mistakes. Some companies that look like superstars today may not
Yeah.
exist 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and so I think, and that's a sad thing that always happens when this kind of a massive change occurs in the
Yeah.
technology landscape. So yeah, I think we can look forward to some hard problems being solved, but also chaos.
Right. Yeah. Parvati is asking, how did you convince people around you in your exits? I've exited multiple roles, including my own business, and every time I get the same line, why did you have to do it when it was going so well? So how do you convince your own shareholders, your own employees, your own self, like when
Yeah,
you made an
I think
exit?
the key to that is you have to be fully convinced
Uh-huh.
that this is the right thing for you and for the team. I think, when I was changing roles, the only person affected was me and my company. And so, like, I had an honest conversation with my bosses saying, hey, I'm planning to
Uh-huh.
leave end of the year. I gave them enough notice. I'll make sure
Uh-huh.
my succession is taken care of. I'll handle things properly.
Mhm.
Actually, at Cisco, I ended up staying 6 months longer because I was in the middle of a critical project that I had to
Yeah.
finish.
Yeah.
But I think having that transparency with the stakeholders, whether it's your boss or your team,
Mhm.
maintaining confidentiality at the right level is important. When you're exiting the company, same thing. I was very transparent with all my employees at Fable. We had 30
Mhm.
people. I told them everything. Like I told them, hey, we're fundraising. We got 3 offers. I'm looking at two, and I like this company. We may go forward. I can't name the company yet because it's
Yeah.
confidential.
Correct. Yeah.
So everyone knew all along, and I think that lowers the level of anxiety. I told them, you guys are important to me. Wherever you end up, I'll make sure all of you get offers and your jobs will be secure. So
Mhm.
I shared everything in a conversation with them, and so they could come to me if they had questions. But to do that, you have to be very confident and you have to be convinced yourself, right? Like you
Right.
can't have
Yeah.
doubts and say, "Okay, am I doing the right thing or not?"
Yeah.
You only
Yeah.
do. You only take the decision after you're fully convinced. That's the decision you
Correct.
take.
Yeah. So I have to end by asking you, Padmasree, now you are at a different phase of your life in terms of you've done all the things you wanted to do, including a startup, and you're doing all these creative things on the side. So, and with all of us, potentially living to be 100, the way you're going, you got another 30, 40 years of very active life
I
left.
don't think
So,
so.
so what are you looking forward to? I don't mean like what's your next job kind of a thing. What are you looking forward to
Yeah,
doing?
at this stage, you get to a stage in your life where you realize what's really important, right?
Yeah,
And I think it's important to me that I do the things I really enjoy that I never had time to do, like
yeah,
painting, like reading, like traveling. I was
yeah,
traveling in India recently because normally I would come to India mainly to visit family. I'd
yeah,
come to Bangalore, stay with my family for a week, and come back. But this time I was in India for 5 weeks, and I was a tourist. I was traveling
yeah,
everywhere in India, in
yeah,
Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab,
yeah,
Uttar Pradesh. I took a block printing class at
yeah,
a small shop in Pushkar in Rajasthan. Had a great time.
yeah.
I went to Thailand. I took a batik class, sort of like
Oh,
learning new things. I'm really looking
yeah.
forward to learning things that I would have never done otherwise in my life, right? Like I loved the batik class I took, and it was like now I'm
Yeah,
hunting where can I do that in the Bay Area. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I
Start
wanted.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
knowing you. No, that's great. So really, it's been wonderful. I mean, knowing you all these years and seeing you just fly higher and higher. And I must say, Padmasree, no matter where you are, you never forget your friends. You've never lost your. I mean, we always talk about there's Chitra, Divakaruni, there's you, there's me. I mean, like all of us have been friends for a long time, and we keep showing up for each other.
More than 15 years now, I think
Yeah,
we've been.
right. Yeah. So I really am so glad we had a chance to talk. And really, I think we both were exchanging notes before this of how we are enjoying spending time with our sons now a little bit. I think when they were young, we were all flying and running around and all that stuff. Now, when they're older and ready to let go of us, we're like, no, 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 I'm around, I'm around. You know. So I
Yeah.
think I'm glad you're spending time with family and both you and Mohan spending time together as well and with your kid. So, well, I mean, kids are not kids anymore, but whatever. Uh, but really, congratulations on the Fable exit, and hopefully, we'll spend more time together as friends now and
Yes.
book clubs in person, maybe.
Yeah. Come stay with me next time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So thank you so much. This was so much fun. And
Thank you.
thanks
Thank you,
everybody
Lakshmi.
for, especially, like in the Herky, the Open Ceiling Club, which is a leadership club, they all joined. They were all asking
Awesome.
questions. So really, really great to have you. And thanks a lot to the community for staying with us. And good night, good morning, good day, wherever you are. Thank you very much, Padmasree, for your time.
Thank you,
Okay.
Lakshmi. Thank you for being patient with me.
Of course. Bye bye.
Bye.